Hi, Monica. How you doing? Okay, so I am definitely seeing some of the same issues from last week, um, from last week's submission. And let me show you what those are. Basically, in a nutshell, you've got the wrong name for Smelly Dandy Garbage Ready. This should be Garbage Dump Dan, and that is a requirement set by the hypothetical toy company that we're working for. So there's no play on that. That has got to read Garbage Dump Dan. I recommended last week to change the pop can to an actual raster. That's an image, something that was taken with a camera and not drawn using vector tools. So this is more of a cartoon and less of an image. So we want to replace that. The toothpaste arms, I think those are, as I recommended last week, those should be behind the body. And let me show you what I mean. We'll take that right arm and we drag it behind the body. Now it's coming out from behind the body instead of in front of the body. We can move that so it looks like it's more part of. Now this one especially, it's just floating on top of the apple. So if we take that, move it down below, now it's behind and it looks a little bit more realistic. The battery legs, you can't see those with the clutter of the background, that really busy background. So I would definitely run some sort of an adjustment layer on the batteries to accommodate that. You may even maybe add another battery for a foot. You got a leg and a foot, something to bring out the visibility in that area more. Finally, the last thing I would recommend is I'd like to see some adjustment layers. I'd like to also see some, you don't have any adjustment layers in here at all. You've got a levels and a curves, but those are global adjustments. Those are not clipped to anything. Okay, and they're not bad adjustments, but let's take a look at example for let's take a look at the apple itself, okay? Now, I'm going to take that apple layer, and I'm just going to take an adjustment layer, and I'll use levels as an example, since I've been doing that since the beginning. And let's just darken that apple up a little bit. Whoops. One thing I did not do is I did not clip that to my layer. So we're going to just right-click, say Create Clipping Mask, clip that to the layer. Now we can make adjustments to only the apple. Let's darken up the apple a little bit, bring out those bruises, making it look really nasty so it looks good in that. Okay, so there's an example of an adjustment layer clipped to a layer. Next thing I want to do is show you how to do some restoration. I think a really good area for restoration would be, I'm noticing some areas in the apple that need to be adjusted, the mask. So I can do that. Let me do that right now. I want to zoom into the apple itself, and I can see some areas right here where you brought the background. So if I go into that apple layer, I want to be on the mask itself, not the thumbnail for the apple, but the thumbnail for the mask. As long as that mask is selected, I can use a brush tool, and I can come in here and make sure black is your foreground color, because black hides pixels. And I'm going to just come here and just get rid of that white background that you brought in with the selection. We can see other areas of the background right over here, so we can do the same thing. Just get rid of those. And I'm just painting those right out. It's adding to the selection. Just make sure that you're on the actual layer mask itself, and so on and so forth. So that's how you would handle that to fix those areas of the mask. And then the one thing I wanted to recommend is showing your restoration and repair tools. And I think one area I think we can do that is right over here in the reflection on the tube of toothpaste. Let me show you what I mean. And the technique I'm going to use here in order to see the restoration and repair tools, and also to maintain complete editability, is to create a composite layer. And I'm going to do that by going to the top layer of the file, clicking that. I want to be on the top layer, and I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Shift, Command, Option, and the letter E. Now I'm on a Mac. So now what that does is that creates a composite layer. What we can do there is we can make some edits. Let me just use the zoom tool. All right, and what I want to do is I want to get rid of these reflections in the toothpaste tube, because I think they're really distracting. So as long as I'm on that composite layer, I can just come right over here to my spot healing tool, and I can just fix those. Well, actually, let's use a clone stamp. So what I want to do is I want to select an area from here, Option click, and then I want to paint that area out. Okay, select an area from here, paint that area out. Option click, paint. Option click, paint. Right now, you're option click, you're just getting rid of those reflections. Look how much better it looks. You can do the same thing over here. Let's try a patch tool. Patch tool, I'm just going to select that whole reflection right there, and I'm going to move this over to find a good, there's a good area. Let's deselect that, and look how nice that looks. So here's before, and here's after. So that I would like you to do that to both toothpaste tubes. And in summary, as I said, you definitely want to show an adjustment layer that's clipped to an individual layer. Show those healing tools using a composite layer. And, refine the mask for the apple and any other areas that the mask needs to be refined. Okay, any questions? And bring out the legs too. The legs aren't visible enough. So let's bring out those legs somehow. You might have to change those with something else, some other object to reflect the legs. Okay, any questions? Let me know. Thank you.